Corona Cigar Company is your one-stop shop for all your cigar needs. Whether that's a brand new humidor, a box of those new cigars you've been waiting for, a top-of-the-line cutter or lighter, a place to enjoy the finest cigars and spirits with friends, or the only cigars grown right here in the Sunshine State, we've got you covered. Come visit one of our retail locations for the ultimate cigar experience. Visit us online at coronacigar.com.
How about that cigar?
How about that cigar?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Corona Cigar Studios for episode 242 of How About That Cigar Live. Thank you so much for joining us live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on Instagram, live on X. And a reminder to our wonderful viewers, if you're watching on Instagram right now, thank you so much. But if you want to participate in the comments, come over to YouTube or Facebook so that we can see any questions you may have, any comments you may have. Let us know in the comments what you're smoking, what you're drinking. Click on those big, beautiful subscribe buttons.
Please.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you.
And I think it was, 60? Did it hit 70? It didn't hit 70 today, did it?
It was beautiful or whatever it was. It was absolutely.
It was
69.
It was a nice day. Where'd that voice come from?
Whoa.
That's-
Who is that?
That's
kid?
Justy Smoke,
Showing.
our fantastic producer.
Showing.
Justy, how's it going, man?
It's going. How about you all? Just working the grind.
Yeah. Just trying to, it's like day job itis.
Try to
survive
this wonderful world.
Yeah, just trying to get through. NFL draft starts Thursday. I think it's possible. I heard through the grapevine that there's the Atlanta Falcons may be getting in some trouble with the league over this whole Matt Ryan thing.
Matt Ryan?
Well, the Cousins draft thing and the whole but they may end up getting in trouble.
What they're probably going to do is flip spots. So we'll get 8 and they'll get 11.
Yeah, but I heard that they may also be some kind of penalty beyond that that the league may impose on Atlanta. I don't know.
I hope so.
I don't know. So the Twins suck. That's super quick Twins update. They're terrible.
They won today.
They're,
My Yankees lost and your
Yeah.
Twins won.
the Twins are just really need a lot of work. But this is the big sports happiness. A Minnesota professional sports team
2-0.
won a playoff game.
2-0.
What?
2 of them.
Huh?
They won 2 of them.
The Timberwolves?
I thought they're up 2-0.
No, they're up 1-0.
Maybe I'm just-
Game 2 is tomorrow, I believe.
Maybe
If I'm wrong about that, put it in the comments. I'm pretty sure it's 1-0. Because I thought to myself, this is strange that there's so many days in between games. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, both the first 2 games are in Minnesota. Why would they be so far apart? But the Timberwolves just absolutely killed the Suns in that first playoff game. 125 to 95. I don't know. It was
victory.
It was a beatdown, and which was kind of fun to watch.
I'd like to say hello to everyone on our feed.
Yeah, we're getting some comments.
Mr. G, how you doing?
We
Tony,
got,
Jason, who else is out there? All you guys.
All you guys, all yuns, if you're from the Pittsburgh area, all yunsins. But yeah, I mean, sports wise, there's just really not much right now,
really.
And I'm okay with that because we got a great special guest, I want to get our special
He's
guest.
chopping
on.
at the bits. Look at him.
I know.
Look at him.
I know.
All right, Ronnie.
Spirit of Mystery before we introduce our special
Yes.
guest. So Spirit of Mystery brought to us by our friends at Postania Cigars. Do you find yourself unsatisfied with the top 10 list from How About That Cigar? Are you wondering how cigars from Postania didn't make the HBTC list, but found their way onto other lists? Fortunately, you can be reminded every week with this Postania Cigars advertisement. Postania Cigars, the #1 unranked cigar in the industry. So here is this week's Spirit of Mystery. Beautiful in the How About That cigar glass. It is viscous. I mean, that stuff hangs on to the side of the glass. I love that.
It is a bourbon.
It's a bourbon.
And it's 100 proof.
It's 100 proof. It's got a little, and I gave a little sniff before we went live. It's got a little bit of a kind of medicinal sort of aroma to it, but not too much. It's not like too methanol-y, but
it should knock your socks off.
And it's got a little bit of the classic kind of bourbon like smells, vanilla, oak, vanilla
Alcohol.
and oak alcohol.
Yeah.
So here's a little taste. That's definitely 100 proof.
Just say fabulous.
It's pretty good. It's got
Fabulous.
so there's spice. This one's got a little spice to it. That's why I almost, when I smelled it, I almost thought it was a rye. So I wonder if the rye might be turned up just a notch or two in the mash bill, but it's not. It's got a little spicy finish to it. The viscosity is not as like thick as I thought it was going to be, but it's not thin. It's not too watery thin. So that's a pretty good start.
All right.
I like it. We'll reveal what that is. I'll try to guess what it is later in the show. But let's get our special guest on episode 242. Special guest brought to us by our friends at Drew Estate. Following the resounding success of Blackened Cigars M81 Maduro, Drew Estate announced the new Blackened S84 Shade to Black. Wrapped in a luxurious Connecticut Ecuador cover leaf, the experience of this expression is distinctly different from the original M81 Maduro, while still retaining its foundational qualities due to the Connecticut broadleaf Maduro binder and, finally, filler leaves from Pennsylvania and Nicaragua. Presented in elegantly designed 20-count boxes, Blackened S84 Shade to Black by Drew Estate is available in Robusto, Toro, Corona Doble, and Corona. For more information, please visit drewestate.com. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please put your hands together and help us welcome to episode 242 of How About That Cigar Live, Ronnie from Secreto Cigar Bar. Ronnie, welcome to How About That Cigar Live, brother.
Buenos tacos, gentlemen. How are you?
It is a beautiful, beautiful night. We finally have Ronnie on the show. This is too much, my brother. It's great to have you with us.
The ice cream
The
man.
ice cream man.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
You know, one of the most challenging things is when you come on something like this, it didn't hit me till I got hit by it all. The cigar that you smoke is a reflection of one's personal character.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And so whatever you pick, you're fucked, no matter what. Are you allowed to swear on this show?
You say
Hell
whatever you want to
yeah.
say.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure.
All the
I
kids
got
are asleep.
I got censored a couple times by an outfit, and after that, I refused to go live again. But, yeah, man, I was looking at stuff, so I was starting to think about my personality and everything that I like in life, and this is what I ended up with. Literally, Heather will tell you 3 minutes before showtime.
I don't
And
think we're
it's
going
like-
to get through all those.
No, but the thing that's crazy is that, like, I kept thinking, all right, so let's hear what they talk about, and by that, I'm going to pick what I want to smoke, and then I was like, damn, man. You know, when I got back here, I was like, if you guys say a brand, you guys mentioned Mike Steps on Cabbage, and I was like, yep, at least I had one of his in here. But if you would have mentioned a brand that I don't have, and I don't pull it out, it's probably saying something about me and that brand.
Well, I think you should definitely choose a cigar to start with.
What are you gentlemen smoking?
Well, it's funny you should ask that. That's kind of where we were headed right now.
Yeah.
So Raul, let's start with you.
I'm smoking a Drew Estate. Here, give me my candy.
You want yours?
Yeah.
I got you.
That's why he's the best producer around.
Oh, fancy stuff.
Fancy
Yeah.
stuff.
That's my first cigar. My second one would be this one.
Oh, look at this. Fancy on fancy.
I ain't playing. I knew you were coming, so
Justin, what do you got fired up?
I have the Aventura Sociedad Secreta
Oh.
collaboration with the man himself.
Oh, you got to
from-
hold it up to the camera. You're
What
holding it
other
up to your laptop
Your
camera.
camera.
Oh, here we go.
There you
Sorry,
go.
guys.
I
There we
got
go.
respect for that. Grab 'em up. You know what? I think that I'm going to let you win that. Stop right there for a second.
Well, I'll tell you what. While he's getting what he's getting, I'm going to fire up my cigar. I'm smoking a Julius Caesar from the wonderful people at JC Newman Cigars, and I'm going to fire that up right now. If I can do. No.
So bright.
No.
Shine like a diamond.
Oh,
Shine bright like a diamond. So I'm going to fire that up right now on the I almost said the old sponsor name, the Zycar Toast Cam. Zycar is the leading accessory brand with innovative butane lighters, precision cutting instruments, travel cases, and humidors. Each product is designed and manufactured with the utmost precision and attention to detail. The result is a range of products that exude quality and refinement, reflecting the brand's dedication to excellence. For more information, please visit Zycar.com. All right, all toasted up and ready to go. All right, Ronnie, the people want to know, what did you land on for a decision?
Especially this time of the season, everybody's going to expect that I'm going to go Don Dermo. It's the logical choice.
Yeah. It's the logical choice.
I don't like to get one up, but yes, they're always
somewhat close. There we go, baby.
And so I really wanted to do that. But I'm going to start with the cigar that I think might be my cigar of the year thus far.
Ooh.
And I'm going to tell you guys, so like last year, well, 2 consecutive years is pretty easy to guess the number ones, whereas Papa Saka and Saka Khan, I do my list early, and those are both winners, but that was pretty easy. But this year, last year, my number 2 spot went to Cinco de Cinco. And I was troubled to see that it didn't make a lot of lists. That cigar was straight fire to me. I loved it.
That made our list.
Yeah. So, and that was one of those things where I think because they got the product out so late in the year, I think we got it in November, late October, we got it in. I mean, we went through 60 boxes in seconds. It wasn't like it's a number like 5, 6, 7. I mean, and we're not a big shop. So like that's, everybody loved that cigar. Juan came out and did an event here, and I love this thing, but the surprise out of that factory that we got afforded to us was Classico. Yeah. And I think because it was a Connecticut and it had already been sold at Casa Monte Cristo and it was out before that, it didn't get looked at as a new cigar in market. But I think this year I'm going to go with the Chancellor so far.
Yeah.
Henderson just did something crazy. Him, Weber, Adrian, they just did something special with this cigar that I think that I'd love to say. Like, I love the new size of Sin Compromiso. I'd love Wagashi, but both those are blends that he's already had out. So he's just got to up the ante. He's got to show me something more special. Meaning Steve Saka.
That Chancellor is phenomenal.
So I think that it's the best retro thus far that I smoked this year. The other cigars, just to let you guys know where my palate's at, like I have the new Tatuaje I thought was absolutely brilliant. The new 10, not the Tukes of the Sumatra. I love that cigar. The Mil Diaz Maduro I like this year a lot. What's going to come out that was in our Sociedad Secreta set with Ian from Dapper, his El Borracho Crudo.
Oh,
That's crazy good. I love that cigar. Yeah, but thus far this year, those have been some cigars that Medio by Hoya Nicaragua. There's a lot of cigars that are, we've yet to taste, and some stuff at the show that just didn't hit for me.
Toast like you.
Yeah. Ronnie,
the new Chromac PA, I thought they did a great job reblending Chromac.
Yes,
I thought
sir.
Skip did a crazy good job with that as well.
Agree with you on that one, too.
So, Ronnie, take us back in time a little bit. What was the first hand-rolled cigar you ever smoked?
Every year I lie about that, and it gets better and better. I think it comes down to, it was probably, when I say the white band, so it could have been an Ashton Classic, a Macanudo. The story's changed so many times. It was basic goods. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you that the second through 20, they weren't premium. So it was like there was a gap before it got crazy. And then that didn't start out until college. And that was only because I wanted to pretend that a Panatella was a spliff.
Well, tell us, for those of us who aren't from the area, tell us a little bit about Secreto Cigar Bar and what a consumer can expect.
Yeah, so I was a brick and mortar retailer for a few years, and then got out of brick and mortar, decided to open up a cigar bar, and we did just that. And then we were running it. And I don't think I've never been like as people like you, Matt, me. It's like I think somebody who knows me and that I'm friends with, I'm probably a good friend to. I think that as for strangers, I might be taken differently sometimes. So I think as a customer service thing, we probably weren't the greatest when we were open. But when COVID hit, great things happened. Online got crazy good. We started selling a ton of more cigars, and then I didn't open the bar for 4 years. Got married on my 50th, had a kid on my 51st, and had pizza on my 52nd. So it's been a pretty eventful last few years.
You've been busy. You've been busy. Absolutely. But it's good stuff, though. It's good stuff that's going on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, it's like so I took on a partner a few months back. We had worked together she was at a bar, the owner had passed away, and Heather, that was working an ambassador, we had met because I needed her to do the Juan Martinez event. We were bringing him in and the bar wasn't open. And then when Juan came in, right after that, we had Saka. And we had great chemistry, but really was the first person that kind of told me to fuck off like all the time. And I just had to accept that we were going to do shit different. So, growing pains and a lot of challenges, like as far as waiting for, trades to finish their projects. But for the most part, we're waiting on some wall treatments finished and the bar is done, man. It came out great. We've got more storage, more humidification, tons more booze. It's fun. I'll show it to you guys later, but whenever you want. But it's been good, man.
Yeah. Well, and we can even, at some point, if you want to, do a walk around, we'd be happy to do that too.
Sure. So Matt, do you remember when I saw you at Ristafari years back?
First time we met. Yeah. Like 5-6 years ago. So
what was funny was that was the one where my current TM at Drew Estate, Rex, almost died, right?
Yeah.
You remember that event?
A lot of people almost died at that event. I almost died at that event.
So what was funny about that event, we were sitting in that shop and Habibi walked in like a pimp with 2 strippers that looked like they got hit by a car on the way coming there. And you guys were doing your show on the front and you were letting the guests that were at Ristafari go in there. And I had no idea who you guys were. And you and Garrett were the first 2 guys that said, man, these are the first 2 normal people at this event.
Oh, yeah?
And the last 2 normal ones, I mean, rest in peace, Tim Soothcamp, but Timmy, Ray, the whole squad, man. Joe, like we had a great time at that event. That was a fun time. Buck those great events.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember even, the earliest days on going live on Facebook with How About That Cigar. You and Tim Soothcamp were like our resident trolls, just constant, like, going bullshitting back and forth and, talking to me about the exposed insulation in my fucking garden shed back in the day. And you guys,
dude, those were the best. You know how much I miss those times so much, man. It was like, people think that like in the cigar industry, like we don't need something to break our day. And Ray Mabalot was probably like, between him and Tim, their meme game was so epic.
Yes.
The ones they did with Pops and dude, we take full credit. I don't give a fuck what he says. Skip Martin has a UPC code on his cigars because of my 76-year-old father. I don't care what he can say. No, that's not why we had to wait for our filing and the right one and the right paper and the right font. That's what Skip will say, right? Full of shit. We trolled him for years, man. We took videos of my poor dad saying "fuck you" millions of times because he had to put UPC codes on the cigars.
Well, I gotta
they're still selling.
I gotta give a cheers. Drink, everybody. Raise a glass. Tim Soothcamp.
100.
Rest in peace, brother.
For sure.
Well, man, one of the things that we love asking, people that run shops, because you guys really, people who run shops really have such a better perspective on cigar consumers than bloggers or podcasters or brand owners do. And there's always different kind of vibes in different cities, different neighborhoods, whatever it might be. But, for you, other than just, having beverages available and having, which we can't even do in Minnesota. We can't have, sell booze and cigars in the same place. But if you've got, your shop there, what do you think is the number one thing that sets you guys apart, that would lead a consumer to come back to your shop after that first visit?
I say it all the time. I'm your tobacconist's favorite tobacconist.
Oh, yeah.
I've been saying it all the time, man. I don't drop singles. I drop albums every time. You name something that I got behind, any brand. Name one that I got behind that's not relevant or turned into be an epic failure.
None come to mind.
Crown Heads 2014. I opened up my shop. That's their born on date. My first pick was Crown Heads right out the chute. My door says established 2014. Go look at, ask Miguel to go look because that motherfucker wasn't even there. John Huber can answer that question. 2014, we started with those guys. That's been one of the brands that's been a staple in my shop. But Miguel coming in, treated us like family day one. We love him. Current guy, Jake, he's become a bit of a nephew. But that's one of the, when you start a shop, you're thinking that you have to start it with the big marks, General, Altadis, Fuente, David. Crown Heads was one of my first picks. So that should tell you as far as like when I started to curate a humidor, where I started, like that was one of the first pieces to the puzzle. A couple of years later, we were 100 plus SKUs with Caldwell. People say that's not even possible. It is, because at one time, La Barba, Room 101, Lost and Found, Robert's coming out of a multiplicity of different factories, Tabacular, William Ventura, DE, AJ, Chico. So we had all those SKUs. So we were different because we were a boutique shop. We didn't do mainstream. That's what I think would probably be the thing that separated us from that. And then plus, I don't sell dog rockets.
Yeah. What's like a common response that you give if a customer comes in and asks for a brand that you consider a dog rocket? Or even just an individual cigar from a brand?
We have brands that when they ask us for it, I say I'll never carry that product.
Like
they have it across the street.
So you're straight up honest with them. You don't.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Like what, Ronnie?
I don't listen. I always tell people every time, like, there's someone eating off of that plate. So there's never a reason to bring shade to a brand publicly, because we all have different palates, right? There might be a person who liked the taste of chewing on tinfoil, never had a filling, and that was that metallic taste that they loved their whole life. Who am I to say that person doesn't have a palate? Right?
Yeah, you're right.
So at the end of the day, there's so many great things to say about people who are doing it great. The brands that I love and the brands that I work with. Why would I to spend a minute talking about something that I don't like how fucking cold it was at PCA, to the point where I left the show for 4 hours at a time. My nipples were so hard. I literally went and put a lighter to them just to warm them, and it was terrible. So that kind of stuff I don't mind talking about. But somewhere where there's someone eating, no, I don't need to talk about brands I don't like.
Fair enough.
Well, Ronnie, my canned response, where if there's some kind of debate that looks like it's starting to brew online, my canned response, I just put it in the comments. I like cigars. That's and you've given me shit about that in the past. You're saying, well, Matt, I love cigars, and I'm like, well, bro, I do too. But I know you're just fucking with me. But it's like when a debate starts brewing and I don't feel like participating, that's just like my canned response.
I like turtles.
I like turtles.
I like turtles.
It's so much easier if you if you start your day off and you say, you know what, there's a brand that's out there that may need some love, and I'm going to talk about that brand like on Instagram Live, and talk about something that's not getting enough notoriety in market and that's being overshadowed by tchotchke gimmicky shit, or a brand is trying to take off and they actually have solid product and everything going great for them, except possibly something in their branding and their marketing message. I don't mind doing pro bono work for that, and that's what I call that, straight charity. Because a lot of times I'm talking about a cigar I don't even carry.
Yeah.
So that's just plain stupid. but I'll give somebody shine on a stick, but maybe not on their full vertical. And I don't like to bring in brands that I can't bring top to bottom. If you got holes in your arsenal, it's not the brand for me.
What do you mean by that when you say holes in your
So
arsenal?
like right now, if you look at Sazerac, right, what we get from them. So if you look at the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, that's a full vertical of antiques. Pappy's a full vertical. Then you go to the Weller's portfolio, Colonel Taylor, that full vertical, all the products in those series, they're all badass. Are you going to argue that?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, so right now, if I said we're going to start talking wrapper hues, well, let's go Dominican Republic and Nicaragua. Okay, we'll even throw Honduras in there. Let's start Connecticut. Tell me someone in Nicaragua doing a Connecticut shade cigar better than Classico Numero Uno Brule Wagashi. Better, not equal, better.
In Nicaragua?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I got to think about that for a long time.
Okay, Dominican Republic, Queen's Pearl, for sure.
Queen's Pearl.
Davidoff
Yeah.
Anniversario.
Davidoff, yeah.
I really think he'd be fun to argue with.
Ronnie's the best to argue.
I would love to argue with
No,
you.
start with those two cigars. I told you, go to that range. Who's better than those Connecticut's? You want to do the same thing in San Andres? Let's go Nicaragua. We'll start again. Sin Compromisos. Same factory, Cinco de Cinco. Start me off with the better San Andres coming out of Nicaragua.
I would put no, that's DR. I was gonna say I was gonna say something from EPC, but that's out of DR.
Undercrown 10, somebody put up.
Good cigar.
Undercrown 10.
Won a cigar of the year. South Cigar. If it had a Liga band, that thing would have been fucking slapping right now.
Black Label Porcelain.
So let's go to Broadleaf, Nicaragua. Oh, let's go to San Andres, Dominican Republic. So we'll stick with my boy Henderson. I'm going to say if you go from his range, Barbaroa is going to be really powerful, but Navigator that his father blended, that's the cigar that made me fall in love and die for San Andres. So in that range, there's a few people that can do that at DR, but let's go to Broadleaf. Are we going to top Osaka, who's held court for the last, 2016 to present? Who's beating that for Broadleaf?
I put Nick Melillo up there when it comes to Broadleaf.
Okay, when was the last time you smoked the King's Gold?
Within the last month.
Okay, and tell me out of the Dominican Republic who's got better Broadleaf outside of La Creme.
Yeah, I put both those up at the top coming from DR factories.
So when I say it's pretty easy when you start with like basic goods at boutique, right? You start with the best of the best. So when you start talking about the last couple of years, for me, we opened up with Tatuaya in 2014. We had a lull. I just started smoking their stuff all over again. I had to message people when the new Capa Especial came out. I thought that cigar was phenomenal. So when we brought, we've always carried, but when we brought the line back in, I wanted a full array of stuff. So I won't bring in brands where I can't bring top to bottom verticals, where they're the best in class or they're contenders in class across the board in every hue.
Sounds like a solid fucking
Yeah, yeah.
So like when you talk Habano, even if I just keep it to those two things, we can go a million directions. But let's say we keep to the brands I'm talking about. Mil Diaz, Bellicosa Fino that last year was brilliant. Love that cigar, right? But are we going to take anything away from Sober Mesa, recently rebranded Solita, or the Aventura Explorer? So in my shop, going to what I feature on my walls, the brand that goes against all that stuff, and from Honduras is my top shelf in the humidor, and that's Aladino.
Yeah,
And,
they're doing great stuff.
Yep, and that wasn't one of my picks. That's a great story. I was talking to Steve Henderson during COVID, and I said to him, I really need to bring in another brand while you're out there on the East Coast. Let me know what you're smoking. And he got back to me and he said the Aladino Corolla Reserva. Saka was driving it through at the time. He was driving through New York, and I was talking to him, asking the same question a couple days later, and he said the exact same cigar. I brought in the line, and that was my least favorite of the entire portfolio.
Of the Aladino portfolio?
I love the Cameroon. The PCA exclusive I thought was unbelievable. That was a top 25 for me. I love the PCA exclusive Sumatra. I love their classic. I love the regular Corojo. I love the Maduro. I love everything that they've done. I like the Corojo Reserva, but it was for what they told me for their pals, that just tells you two blenders, two gifted blenders, two guys in the know of tobacco, that they both picked the same cigar. I'm just a tobacconist. I picked all the other ones over that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that Cameroon, that Aladino Cameroon, I mean, it was our #1 cigar 3 years ago. It was incredible.
And so that's why in my shop, like it's kind of like a history lesson. Like, so you walk in my humidor and the first top shelf is Void in Nicaragua, and then Henderson and Tabacalero and Ventura, the next shelf. And then the next one is Fuente, and the next one's Dunbar, and the next one's Davidoff, and then there's a Liga shelf and a Padron shelf. And it's like, it's a fusion of boutique and legacy, but I think with all the brands that we carry, Romo Craft, Postania, Caldwell, like, they all have a great range of cigars where each blend has a consumer. So there's no such thing as the stuff that I buy that I'm going to get stuck with product. It just doesn't happen.
Somebody asked a question about Stolen Throne earlier. Do you carry them yet?
Have you given them a look at all?
So do you know what's funny? Somebody gave me a few years back, I smoked one of their cigars, and I believe I spoke to the gentleman at the trade show that owns that brand at maybe TPE or PCA last year. I think we said hi to each other. I've actually never...
Lee Marsh?
I think he was a good guy, actually. If I remember the guy who owned that brand, was he like on a cart?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, man. We met briefly, I think, last year's trade show. This year's trade show was dreadful for me because I was freezing the whole time. I came from Detroit and I was froze there.
You could have just asked for a sweatshirt. I would have gave you one.
I wish I had a hoodie with me. This warped one would have came in handy. This guy makes the best hoodies in the game.
So, you thinking about bringing them in, or you need to smoke more of their stuff?
I haven't smoked any of their, like when I tell you I've smoked it, I smoke a whole line before I bring it in multiple times over. Except for stuff that Heather's picked out. She brought in some brands recently. We haven't even got them on the site yet, but she brought in LFD. I think we're fine. We have a Crux event we're doing our order for the 16th, I think, next month. She did some stuff that she got, and Placencia was her other one that she brought in.
Oh, that's a great brand.
Solid brand.
Yeah.
All three of those are solid brands.
Who's repping in your area for Crux?
Tony.
I know his name, and we're actually best friends.
Tony.
And his name is Tony.
Tony Hogan. Yeah.
We're best friends.
Yeah. Great dude.
Awesome.
I mean, we met at the trade show, but we're still best friends. We actually, I think we've met at my shop before. He's been here a couple times, but solid dude. I liked him better than the owner by far.
Okay.
And I liked Casey, but I liked the other guy better. He's like me. He's much more an aggressive seller. Casey's like chill. He's super nice.
Yeah, Casey's super chill, quiet, introspective dude. And Tony.
Yeah, I hate that shit. That's like Kyle at Warped. I love Kyle. Kyle's like one of those guys that, man, that's one of the brands that I cheer for all the time. I think stylistically Warped is one of my favorite brands ever to hit a shelf. I love his branding. I like what they try to do there and the product that they try to execute. And Scott that works there is another guy. We were actually just messaging her today. That's like another brand that we've been day one with them in this shop, and they've always taken good care of us. They treated us like a better account than we actually were since day one, which is why I love that crew. But that's another one, Ian, Camp Crickets. You know, we did a shop exclusive with him. I love that fucking guy. I got introduced to him by Saka and Lafferty. We ended up doing this shop exclusive together. And honestly, he turned out to be one of the best guys I've ever done business with in my life. I love that guy.
Yeah, Ian's fucking so mellow, so cool.
Yeah.
But all those guys I just mentioned, they're not loud enough for me.
Yeah, I can. You need that personality to kind of mirror you a little bit, you know.
Well, people look at like guys like Henderson Ventura, and you guys probably think like he's a nice guy and he's super sweet and respectful.
No, we've seen the loud.
I know him.
We've seen the loud side of Henderson.
Yeah, okay, good, because like people like start saying like, you know, he's like this good, sweet, whatever. I'm like, fuck that. That's farther from that.
We spent the night at my house at my fire pit.
Yeah,
he was talking a lot of shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was here had dinner with us.
Yeah, he was here. We cooked for him here at the house, and yeah.
Do you know when he talks shit like that? It's because when he goes through cycles, just like me, when he's in the gym, he starts feeling himself. That motherfucker will answer FaceTime half naked, flexing. You know, that's the Henderson I know. And the funny thing is I invented that guy. So I don't even think he exists without me, because Henderson came in here with Robert Caldwell, Senor Buenos Tacos, like no fucking English whatsoever, right? And obviously I never stopped talking. So I think literally I'm responsible for his English. So he's like advanced. I mean, this guy speaks fluent, and it's crazy. It happens so quick. And he's one of my favorite people to do everything and anything with. He's the only person I visit when I go to the DR outside. I always go to visit John Michel over at Saga. I love their stuff. But Henderson is just the whole family. Weber, William, Natalie, that whole family is just special.
Well, you mentioned a minute ago about shop exclusives, and that's one of the things we're curious about with you, because, you know, to get a shop exclusive here and there, you know, every few years, maybe from, you know, maybe a medium brand or something like that. But you've landed some epic shop exclusives. How do those projects like evolve and turn into something real?
Do you want the truth?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You throw money at them. Say,
No, fuck
I
no.
want.
No. It's humbling, and it's actually so. You know, you guys know Tom Z that works at Drew Estate?
Yeah.
So Tom Z is another one of my creations. He was in the shop one day. We're sitting down. One of my tobacco nerds sat with me on the daily. We get a box. We open it up, and there are these yellow bands, and there's a word on it that says Don Derma. I'm such a stupid fuck. I open the box, me and Tom smoking. He's like, oh, shit, that cigar is as good as a Davidoff Oro. And I'm like, I love the retro on this thing. It's so candied. I die for this thing. I die for this thing. And I call up Sock and I say, hey, I got those cigars you sent me. How many of those do you have? And he told me the number. And I said something really stupid. I said, what do you want from me? He giggled. He said, well, how do you like the cigar? I said, I'll split them with you. Like, he didn't say to me, like, because I had smoked so many of his test blends, I didn't know what they were. And I didn't know, like, what. I had no idea what was going on. And he said, that's your shop exclusive. So we didn't have like a real website thing going on or anything, and I had no idea what was about to happen in our store, my life, and everything thereafter. So we instantly got catapulted into stardom, and what happened with the release of this Don Derma, in overnight, we sat in my house and we wrote labels by hand for the first drop of Don Derma, hundreds. Yeah. And to think now that we're doing it like automated and shit like that, and you know, you're using it's crazy to think, and the amount of it we've sold of Don Derma and the multiplicity of different variations of it now, and for how many years we've been doing it. My whole success in this industry is a result of one fucking thing: ice cream. And I don't have anything that I would have done that would have changed where my needle was in sales. We were the same shit every year for years, and then Don Derma happened. And so that was humbling, to say the least. Golden Child that we did, Steve did for my daughter, and that one was crazy because when we dropped that, we did 600 boxes in 27 hours and 22 minutes. And I don't know of a brand I could have got. If you gave me like a limited edition of an Opus X, I could do something like, I don't know what I could have done that with outside of something Saka did. In between there, we did this one, the Sociedad Secreto, which this was actually my heartbreak. Sociedad Secreto is my biggest heartbreak because when we were doing it, I did a San Andreas over broadleaf on that. I think it's Henderson's best blend to date. And I love that cigar. And I was doing a Sips and Sticks show, and they announced the Willie cigar was a San Andreas over broadleaf in UC10. And my cigar we did in 19. Yeah. And we were done with it, and COVID hit, so we didn't drop it. So smoking, and I decided we were going to take my cigar and drop it during Great Smoke, and it was, great. It was well received there, and everything went good. But what we had planned for that original drop, COVID hit. And so then when I did the Sociedad Secreta drop with Ian at Dapper, that one was a whole different type of animal. Actually, I want to talk about those if you guys don't mind, because there's a couple
Yeah,
of good
absolutely.
storylines. So on the Donderma one, that was one of those things where when you smoke a cigar and the experience behind the cigar was like the notes that I got on it. I had never seen a box before where it had retrohaling, strongly recommended for the full experience. There was instructions on it. And I call it his signature because it's the only cigar I ever saw that had the word Saka on the back. And I looked at it as like a signature, an autograph. And it's the blend, as much as I'd want to say it's my favorite, Sin is always going to fall special for me. But Don Derma has been a cigar that catapulted us into something that, well, we did pretty good during COVID. And then I got married, had a kid, and he gave me Golden Child. And that cigar was done for my daughter. But I almost think the Golden Child, and I told Steve, I said, I'm going to be the Golden Child on this one, because he knew I was a big Dominican guy, and he knew I was a big Caldwell smoker. And he knew my flavor profile. He knew I was medium body, full flavor. And we had got the best package we had ever got from a company before. We ordered from Cindy. We called her up to get the product in, and she sent us a welcome kit, and it had all the sizes of all of the Vitolas and everything about wrapper, binder, filler. It was like I thought I was going to get tested when I called it a place the order. And the first few years the first year, when I think of what our numbers were with Dumbarton compared to where they are now, without that brand, our shop is next to fucked. Don Derma just took us to a different place, and our Dumbarton sales are so much of our business model that I tell them all the time, you're not allowed to die, motherfucker, because I'll be fucked. My whole model was built around that. And then Robert and Henderson and Tony and Matt, that whole Tabacalera William Ventura clique, that was what really set my store apart from all the stuff locally, is because that brand, at one point, Robert Caldwell was like 60 to 70% of our sales on a Friday and Saturday, and then Deadwood was the other chunk. That's how crazy my sales were, one-dimensional in the shop at that time. So when I had an opportunity to work with Henderson, which, by the way, Henderson and I don't have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in the cooker. Our shit's been slick. We have so much product that we've had working on together that he's just my favorite person to work with, because we have input with Steve Saka. He just gives you, and you don't have a choice in nothing. But he hasn't made a mistake yet.
Well, and I remember when we were, and Justin remembers this too, when we were at the Great Smoke in 2021, I think between us, we came home with 6 boxes of those Adventuras.
Sociedad Secreta, and I could be wrong, but I think when A was telling us, so we had Saka had his big dinner, and Guy Fieri had his knuckle sandwich, and I think we were like in 3rd place for what we did in sales with that. We had 450 boxes there, if that's a reflection of how we did.
Yeah.
But that was just a great opportunity. And then Sociedad Secreta was, obviously something that we were at Secret Society in Spanish. It was my locker here. And when we had the opportunity, when I met Ian, I thought it'd be disingenuous to do a shop exclusive when we weren't championing his brand. We just loved it because it was Noxa. We loved it because Saka was coming out of that factory. Crown Heads with Azul y Oro and La Patissier comes out of there. Patina comes out of there. Their construction's always been impeccable. So I didn't want to do a collection of cigars or one cigar, because that's just like a money grab. I wanted it to be more about the brand owner and the brand. Because if I was going to get people to smoke that stuff, I didn't want them to go to a restaurant, try one dish, and say they didn't like the dish or say a bad review about the restaurant. So when me and Ian talked, I said I wanted to do a full vertical of his entire collection, but I needed one special cigar in there. So we made this.
Yeah, it's just such a cool project.
Yeah, so the thing is that the best cigar in the box is the one that's not out yet. And the thing is that he has like 3 shop exclusives are in here that were for other stores because they were Corona Gordas. And then this one right here, the El Borracho Crudo, when that drops, it's going to be crazy out there with that cigar. But everybody's loved this cigar, and everybody has given us such great feedback for Dapper. This is my favorite project, even when I say that about Don Derma and Golden Child being for my daughter, this was my favorite product for an education because like there's like 4 variations of different Habano wrappers, 2 variations of San Andreas, a Connecticut Desperado, Connecticut Broadleaf. There's a Rosado wrapper, and there's so much variety that if you can't find something in here, I never want you to buy anything from me again. Go somewhere else. We're never going to have, if you don't find half this stuff good to great, kill yourself. I'm done. I got nothing to say. I don't want to talk tobacco with you ever. Never discuss construction. And the best thing about that, so Ian's such a bad motherfucker. So it's a funny story. He spelled Sociedad wrong, or they did, when they printed these lids. So in that time, his like apology was, let me send you this double torch lighter, which was dope, Zippo style. And then he made the pomade decal. And that was a funny project because at the time my haircut, I was wearing a dapper cut with a hardline part. And I looked at Ian and his hair was shaggy. And I'm like, we're going to do a cigar. The collection's going to be dapper as fuck. And it was a reflection of a haircut at the time. And next thing, I lived in England for 3 years, so it was just kind of a staple haircut as well. So when we dropped this collection, I was so pissed off it didn't sell out instantly in 1 second because I'm used to Don Derma going like crazy. And then we find out that all the links were burnt out, all reported. Same thing with Don Derma, so it made sense, but the sales on it were crazy. And as were Don Derma this last week. And yeah, man, it's been one of those things. We have like 3 or 4 more projects we're working on right now. The shop exclusive thing, everybody thinks it's for like money, but everybody who's done these with me know it's about the core. You can't really champion a brand and get shop exclusives. It's a money grab if you don't champion that brand.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm curious about kind of behind the curtain and not behind the curtain, but sort of inside the mind of Ronnie. And that is, you know, when you go live, you go live frequently on Instagram,
Every
Facebook, every day. And when you do that, sometimes it's just to talk and bullshit. And other times you'll be running, you know, some kind of a deal or something like that. Do you kind of work in your head to schedule that out ahead of time as far as if you're doing deals, or is it just inspiration strikes you and you just want to start slinging deals out to people?
My brain is bionic. If it's in this shop, I know what it costs me. I know what I'm supposed to do with it. I know what I want to do with it. I never write anything down. I never have any. We don't have a person that makes pretty flyers for us. I do that shit on an iPhone. We're the most disorganized. Like everybody, I think we get reported so much on social media, the stuff we get hit for, animal cruelty, sexual shit, bullying, harassment. It's literally a picture of a cigar. I think people think we make way more money than we do. And I think people, because of my aggressive nature, find the way I sell. I think they think they're losing a sale, right? They just don't want to spend the time with their customers to engage them. They don't want to try new things to sell cigars. If I have a choice, Matt, to sit here and smoke a cigar by myself, or to sell cigars to one person for 30 minutes in a humidor to sell a stick, or to speak on Instagram or Facebook Live, I'm actually, all those guys end up coming to the shop for events. They come here when they're in the area. They have layovers. They come here. They buy a ton of cigars. We're much more tobacco-centric shop and whiskey-centric shop than we are about the whole. Well, Heather is all about the warm and fuzzy customer service shit, but I'm not. I'm about tobacco and product knowledge, not so much on the warm and fuzzies.
Well, and also having people, you know, people you can trust alongside you that actually know what they're doing. And one of our loyal viewers, Rich, says, make no mistake, Ronnie's best sales job in the store was landing Heather Detroit as a partner, a terrific bartender and tobacconist. What does that mean to you to have people around you that actually know what they're doing and know what they're talking about?
Listen, I took her to the Dominican Republic with me because the last thing I wanted people to think about her was that this was like cute chick. We brought her to the bar. Me and my wife, her and her husband went out to dinner. And when we left there, you know, my wife said to me something really special. She was like, judging by the way her daughter was at 8, and, you know, you look at how a kid comes out. We had a new daughter. You can pretty much tell how the parents were. So we knew we wanted to work together. And it wasn't until when we did the Juan Martinez event, it went out great. But when we did the Saka event, she was such a monster. We didn't know what to forecast. And she's like, I got this, because she did Juan Martinez event. And then we ended up with 63 people at Saka's event. And she did it by herself and crushed. And it was like, I knew she was a machine, and she was just like I am. Like, she would do whatever had to be done to make the customers happy. And then when we decided to partner, we reopened the bar. She took over the bar side. I took over the cigar side. And then it came out crazy because she ended up helping so much with the cigar side. And I didn't want people to think that she wasn't a real tobacco person. So I took her to Henderson's factory, all three of them. We went to El Maestro. We went to the new tobacco there, William Ventura. It was just getting ready to open in a week. And then we went to Henderson's new factory. We went to Saga's factory. And I was shocked. We did a blend deconstruction with Queen's Pearl. And we smoked it all single leaf, every piece of tobacco that goes in that cigar. And everything that she didn't like, that she thought was too pungent, turned out to be Ligero, and all the stuff that she actually identified that she liked the tobaccos were part of either the rest of the cigar. And she had such a good palate. And it's funny because I always think that, like, chicks were always trying to give them flavored cigars, but you trust your mom's cooking, and you know that women have always been traditionally great in the kitchen. I don't think at chef's level it's different. I'm thinking overall basic goods. And why wouldn't you? Women have great intuition about stuff, so forecasting good product, but then taste-wise, their palates are different than us. I think they're much better at identifying stuff as it relates to food groups.
Yeah, I know for a fact that's true with eyesight, and I think it's probably true with the palate and the nose as well for women, that they have a keener sense than most men do.
You know, it's funny because I've never not retroed any pull of any cigar I've ever smoked, ever. The first time I saw somebody do it, I thought that was the way you smoke cigars. When I used to smoke cigarettes, I didn't do it, but I didn't do now. But at the end of the day, like, retro has always been every pull, every time. And I've always been able to identify if a cigar is under fermented, the aging on the tobacco, how well the blend is as far as complex, everything I tell by the nose. And then mouthfeel has always been secondary for me. So when Saka made Don Derma, it was such a highlight of what I like about tobacco. It was the definition of everything I'd always looked for: angel cake, pound cake, coffee cake, super soft retro, decadent, clean. When I talk about clean tobacco, when you hear my lies, man, I'm always talking about cigars that have sophistication and elegance. And I'll give you examples of cigars that are currently in market right now where I thought the best stuff has been the last stuff, Roma Craft. So Quinquaganario that they did at EPC's has been a shop favorite. We're out of it. We just have what's left on the shelf. That cigar was brilliant. But I don't know if it's because of that, but I know since Skip took over the factory and has been doing what he's been doing, the new PA broadleaf, I had never smoked PA broadleaf on a cigar that I considered palatable. I thought it was always disgusting, and this cigar came out solid. And then what he did with Volstead was, I thought, the best. It was an intemperance. It's pennies in comparison to the rest of the cigar mart, and that was phenomenal. But both those cigars, I found out, one of them from Sean that works there, both those had Dominican guts, and I have a very Dominican-centric palate. And I think that's the definition of why I like Saka stuff so much. I think Saka's like that guy that Padrone's another one. Like when you get into the 26s, super elegant retro, super clean, ample nicotine, super smooth, Dominican style blending, ooze of smoothness. When I think of Nicaraguan, I always think of more zesty, more bite, youthful and spirited tobacco. Dominican always elegant. In Honduran, I only talk about Aroa's tobacco because there's really nothing else there that I even contemplate smoking or think about. So anything that's decadent and clean on the retro usually spells great cigar for me. There have been a few cigars that were out there where the retro was super good and the mouthfeel wasn't exactly there, but it got there in time and in age. And I think a lot of cigars come to market a little ahead of schedule, and they all just need a few more months. Yeah. Because when we get them, they have that little pungent, lingering taste still. And then months later, they're always great.
Is there, over the years, has there been a brand that you've, because I know when you bring in a brand, you have a level of confidence in the beginning, no matter what, but it's still, a guessing game, at least in some way, shape or form. And has there been any circumstances where you brought in a brand and that brand has just absolutely gone batshit crazy for you and the customers go wild for it, that probably you were like, well, I expected it to sell, but I didn't expect it to go this crazy?
Okay, so let's start talking just without tobacco style. What do you think the market looked like when you saw that Long Live the King band on a cigar shelf, which I think is one of the most iconic bands ever in cigars? I think people think about like these beautiful Cuban bands and all this stuff that was all Latin American centric, like the way they did their cigar bands. And then you think of like the classics like Davidoff and Fuente, their Elegant Siopa stuff, right? And then I know what Steve spends to just make his fucking bands, and it's crazy. I think there's somewhere like in the Netherlands. He gets stuff done at crazy stuff, and you look at the quality of that stuff. But what Robert did with Long Live the King, that was something really special. And Caldwell was that brand that made our whole shop like. I think that's another one. Like that motherfucker, he just sold, but he's still in the game. His stuff was exceptional. The factory was great. Working with Robert, he did crazy stuff with our events. We used to make cigars that don't exist. Last Czar Lanceros, A-size Savages before anybody had them wrapped in tissue. He brought crazy stuff to our events. Robert was that guy that we did an event one time here. We did back-to-back days, Friday and Saturday, with no online, no nothing. We did and this was in the infancy of our shop. We did over 10 grand back-to-back nights with just in Detroit. Like it was crazy. And the place was so packed that you would have thought like this was like a legacy brand and there was an iconic guy like Padron coming in. It was like, that's what Robert was when he came to the shop. And now Steve has turned this place into a jungle.
Well, that's actually brings up an interesting question I'm curious about, because I know you're one of those people that's just going to tell the absolute truth about this. When a brand gets sold, like recently happened with Robert, and God love him, more power to him. I say congratulations. But anytime a brand sells, like when Boofy sold to General and Caldwell sold to this pipe tobacco company, do you have any concerns about, okay, am I going to still get the same thing I've expected from this company over the last few years?
Let me do that in a different way. If a person had good product before he sold out, and in the case of Matt and Robert, both using Tabacalera William Ventura, and their new factory that they went into in the free zone looks like a football stadium on steroids, double stacked with crazy amount of technology in there, multiplicity of cool rooms, processing rooms, huge pit. I mean, this place is crazy, right? Coming up out of the fire, new factory. Then they've got the El Maestro factory doing the lost and found stuff. Henderson is obviously doing his own stuff in his own factory. When you think of that, and if you think that the people who buy you obviously have more money to work with than you, do you think they're going to lessen their quality, or they're going to do better stuff, more projects, better quality of work with better funding? I think both those brands are going to come out with better product and do bigger projects. I think Robert's going to blow. It's all up to Robert. Robert's one of those guys, and there's nothing I could say about Robert Caldwell. He can't get in his bag about it. Robert and me have had, when I say an up and down relationship, our down is all bullshit. Our up has all been badass. Robert knows it. No matter what, I've always cheered for that motherfucker. But if you gave Robert Caldwell an unlimited amount of money when he started his journey, Robert Caldwell would be like a Rocky Patel right now. He's a fucking monster when it comes to he's another fellow Scorpio. His brain works overdrive and he works different and his creative process is different. But he's a medium body, full flavored guy. So the stuff that comes out bigger body, he's smart enough to say, I don't smoke this shit. Yeah. Henderson, Weber, William, like you guys go do that stuff. And he'll be the first person. He's so genuine to his shit when you hear his lives. He'll say in his shit, I don't smoke this shit, but you guys are going to love it. Right? His favorite words, creamy, buttery. He's like me. He's a medium body, full flavored guy. But I think we had placed our order with them today, actually, another one, but with the new company. But it's I think that as long as they commit to investing in him and letting him do what he does, and that's let the creative juju go, Robert gonna do. And Matt is whatever Matt wants to do. Like people forget, Matt Booth isn't one thing. He's jewelry, gin, cigars. He's Matt's. but he's actually excelled in all of those things. You know,
Mhm.
it's not like he's not made it in all those things. He's successful. I don't think that guys like that become unsuccessful. I think if they get too successful, they can become complacent. I don't think either of those guys are in that space right now. I think they're both still active, and I think Robert is going to enjoy a couple days off, and I think he's just going to come back and go on a mission. It's not like he's going anywhere. He's still here.
Right.
Matt Booth, when I asked him about him getting bought out, he said the same thing. They just opened up the candy store to me. Watch what comes out.
Yeah.
And his last couple cigars he's put out have been fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, I think a lot of time that stuff gets overblown. I've seen it overblown over the years. Like even I will never forget this when, and this was years ago now, when Swisher bought Drew Estate. The very next day, I shit you not, the very next day after that press release came out, I saw people on Facebook, Instagram, and web forums saying, "Oh, the cigars taste different." It's like you realize they just signed the papers yesterday. Nothing has changed. And then even 6 months later, a year later, you know, whatever, it's, "Oh, the cigars taste different. The cigars aren't as good as they used to be." I can honestly only think of maybe one, maybe two times in my life where I've experienced where a specific blend had a downturn in quality over 28 years of smoking premium cigars.
So that whole thing, I mean, it's so crazy because, like, when you look at this cigar landscape, right? If you take the Acid Blondie and Bellicoso, just those two cigars, I think it outsells all the boutique brands collectively in my entire humidor, and I'm probably not wrong.
Yeah,
they're over 20 million. It's crazy, right? So, for someone to think that someone's going to want to make a subpar quality product after the fact of that, when they have that kind of popularity and growth over the years, you run into huge debt when you're building a brand like that. And then Swisher came in and bought what they spent, whatever they paid for it. It doesn't equal a fraction of the amount of sweat equity that was in that company. I mean, look at the guys that were in that. JD, his creative jujus and processes. Obviously, look what this company's at. Saka, Nick, Eric. I mean, that place has put out great people, right? I always look at, like, when I look at tobacco families, people forget, like, extended families. That's why I think it's really funny when people start talking about successes in our industry, right? So let's look at the Davidoff family tree. You have guys that were there that have gone and left there, and you look at the systems that they've done thereafter. Look at those family trees, like guys like Hanky Kellner and Eladio Diaz and William Ventura. And you look to see what they do when they leave those type of factories, like a Davidoff. And you see, I think Kellner's did their KVF line, and then Eladio Diaz has done some stuff for, like, the guys over at Freud. And then you got William Ventura, and his stuff has been Caldwell, La Barba, Room 101, Lost and Found, Jay London, Adventura. And then you're like, so who's really the Belichicks in those systems? Who's really the Bradys? Who are the Gronks? Like, you know, I always look at what happens after they leave the nest. Look what happened to Saka, Nick, Eric. I mean, they've all been catapulted into cigar stardom. So is it the systems that they come out of? No, because all those guys are different characters that did shit their way, and they've been all successful doing it their way. And so I respect the schools that they come from, but I love that they all went out and left school and rebelled against the last clique and go out and do something different or equal to or better, at least try to in all their cases. And they've all been successful. So I think that you got to hang around success in the cigar industry to be successful, because why would you want to hang around a drowning brand to do what?
Yeah.
I just rather create the waves than get on the hot ones. I'd rather be on them when they start.
So one of the things that over the years we've learned from Skip Martin that I really love that he's mentioned before is that some people get confused where they say it's a cigar shop's job to sell cigars, and Skip says that's not true. It's a cigar. It's a cigar brand's job to sell cigars, but it's a cigar shop's job to make a good experience for the cigar smoker, and especially foster and expand and enhance the hobby of cigar smoking in newer cigar smokers. So what is your philosophy when it comes to like building and growing and fostering that new cigar hobby for somebody who's just having their first or second or third cigar?
So let's first start by the person's name you mentioned, Skip Martin. So arguably one of the smartest people I know overall, like brain matter, super smart guy, right? But also a person that on almost everything related to our industry, we've probably disagreed on the retailer side, but in real life and industry stuff, 100% usually almost always agree on. I think that from when he was a retailer to how it is now in the marketplace, it's a little different, but it really comes down to the most important thing. I think the most successful brands in the industry get this, and that's why they're successful. The consumer is number one in my shop over Matt. How many times have you seen me at a trade show go walk up to a brand owner and say, "Can I take a picture with you?" or go to take a picture?
0.
Yeah. So my whole thing about the brand owners, with all due respect to every single brand owner, the consumer is the only fucking thing Secretto's ever cared about, because without the consumer, they give me money. I give it to brand owner. Brand owner gives it to factory. Factory gives it to box, cello, band, lawyers, and more lawyers. Did I mention lawyers? And then, you think about this shit, right? And I can only say that this industry, when you lose sight of the fact that the consumer is the number one thing, you're fucked. You're never going to be successful. But it is 100% the shop's job to explain the message of the brand, but it is 100% the brand's job to convey their message. And so again, go to marketing. When did you see, who's the person that says, do not buy this product, you're going to hate it, and 15,000 boxes later, sold out? Who's that person?
Steve Saka.
There's no secrets in the cigar industry, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, when you do that and your product is probably the best shit coming out that year, it's like a different kind of trolling. But then there's guys that say, you know what? We're coming out with a fucking stick for $10. We've never failed you. Our construction's been spot on since we got in the game. We're not saying that every cigar we make is to your palate, but they're all going to be perfect construction. The biggest battle we have as retailers is that if the cigar burns right, I'll always find it's like a chick at 2 a.m. in a bar. She's never not scoring, right? No matter what she looks like. There's always someone for it. So if you have perfect construction.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, if a cigar is too strong, there's going to be a guy that comes in that says, I want full body, full throttle in your face. We have a cigar for you as long as there's good construction. And that's been like the Roma crap thing. So I think what with Skip's thing is he feels that his tobacco, his construction, and his price point make it to where we have a pretty easy job. Customer walks in, can you recommend a cigar? You want the best bang for the buck? There's a Roma, and then it's just done, right? The new age of customer, you got to spend a half hour in the fucking humidor to sell a cigar. I can go online on Instagram and sell 30 boxes.
Yeah.
Same time. So it's a different world. Build it in the store in order for it to be genuine online. If you don't build it in the store first for a long period of time, it's just disingenuous, man. You're a money grab. Like the brands that we brought over the last little bit, Lampert, perfect example, right? So that brand, the stuff that they're making there, it's one of those brands that we brought in. We really didn't champion it in a way where we went crazy, but we've worked well with them. Stefan's been great. Vlad, when he was with them, great. Their product, the factories that they're coming out of, all great. The Nicaraguan stuff out of, what's her name? Last name Cortez, I think. I always forget her first name, and it's something unique. Indiana. I don't know her, but I know from reading and blinking half-wheel press releases and stuff and talking to Stefan. But then the people that make Atabay making his Oro line, and then William Ventura making the Oscudo line, all solid, competent factories, right? You can put good product on the shelf, but you have to go through the whole storyline about the cigar, and then you have to ask yourself, currently in market right now, if you're not Latin American 5 generations in, and you're the white guy, and I got to explain the white guy's story. If you start a story like Steve Saka's, where you tell his origin story and then going to become president at DE and then landing where he's at now, that's a good white guy story because he's got a long tenure in the industry. Trying to explain some other guys' stories, it's not real pretty to the consumer, so you got to talk about the product.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to be a tobacco nerd. Otherwise, you're going to fail the consumer and your store.
Well, what's a whether you're at a trade show like PCA or TPE, or if a rep comes into the shop from a brand that you don't currently carry, what's a red flag for you that when you're bantering back and forth with the rep, whether it's at the trade show or in your shop, what's a red flag for you that just says, no, this isn't going to work. This brand isn't for us?
So to give you an idea where we're at, I forecast a year to 2 years out on some product when I know it's going to make the shelf versus online. We've learned to do that pretty good. Reps, it goes both ways. So you know, the rep that just keeps coming in hungry every time, drop samples, all that stuff, he's pretty much dead in my shop. That'll never happen. We won't even take the sample. No, thank you.
Yeah.
The reps that I see that have tenacity and passion, even if their product isn't to what I would consider a shop standard, I'll talk back with them, give them pointers, tell them shops that they might do well in where they have a less informed target audience, where they're more deal centric. But we have a pretty simple rule, man. It's going to sound really funny, but I've never taken a pitch and gone, let's bring that brand in. It's always been me seeking the brand.
Yeah.
I buy it from so many different websites under so many different aliases. I try so many things so many times because I don't want to take samples at a trade show and have to tell someone I don't want to buy their product.
Okay. So on the other side of that, once a brand is already there over the years that you've been doing this, once a brand's already on the shelf, besides the fact that let's say there's a brand that's just not selling, no matter how much you try and put, time and effort behind selling the brand, besides that, what circumstances would lead you to, or have led you to, dropping a brand aside from just the cigars not selling?
So if I feel at some point that we've carried a brand for so long and they've not put forth an effort in any capacity to better themselves, so when you look at execution of a product, right, you have a singular message to some respect. This is my cigar. It's really good. You should buy it. Okay, so when I see Anderson Ventura go out and hire Quentin Tarantino to make a movie, to come out with the dropping of Chancellor, I felt, wow, man, that's really good that these guys are making like videos on the process by which they made this cigar. And it's a $18 cigar in market right now, so I understand and respect that they wanted to show the consumers like what this process was, the story about the fire, what's Adrian's role in the company, Weber finalizing the blend. It was a great storyline, and having people know that process is important. Saka, when he does blend deconstructions, and when he starts talking about tobaccos, it's the consumer's engaged before it even hits the market. What Skip and Mike have done with the timeline stuff we've done when we dropped Volstead and the new PA, they selected some retailers to do these projects with. Fortunately, we were one of them. They've both been great successes for us. We've moved more product with that brand than we've ever moved. But what they did is they selected their, I don't want to say favorites. I guess that's I don't know what the word you'd use. They picked some guys and they said, we want you to drop this project for us. And they put them in 10-count bundles. And we were all creative about the samples we put together with them. And, you know, the one thing about the Dunbarton guys and Roma guys, we're all really, really, really close, man. Like Brett from Tobaccology, Jeff from Riverside, Hunter from Riverside, Mike and Greg and Mike from over at Cigar Hustler. Like, people think that this world is like this competitive, crazy world, right? If I don't talk to Mike in a week, one of us is going to call the other one and, you know, make sure that they're alive. Me and Brett, I will always, anything that happens in the course of my day where I feel in a week or 2 weeks, Brett is one of those guys. I love that motherfucker so much. He came out to my shop when we did the Connecticut drop for Postania. And, you know, I owe him a trip to his shop and Mike a trip to his shop. But those are real life friends. If I wasn't a shop owner, those would still be real life friends. And the Dunbarton guys are all the same as well. And fortunately, Brett's one of those guys now. The guys over at Rocky's, friends with all those guys. We all support each other's shops. We tell each other, like, go to Jeff to go get frog juice. You know, it's one of those things that, like, we have like a contagion, I think, amongst the guys. I don't even want to call us good guys. I don't know that I'd qualify for that. But the guys that do good by their customers, I would say, guys that treat their customers well, guys that are number one thing for them as their customers, we've all been good friends for a long period of time. And it's not like, I'm talking a decade now. I actually had Postania before Roma Craft. How fucked up is that?
I don't think that's very fucked up.
Hey, Ronnie, you coming to Virginia this weekend?
What do you guys got going?
Tobaccology's got that big boil.
You know what's crazy is me and Brett talked about that. He's been telling me about how crazy this event is, and that's this weekend.
Yeah.
He's such a shitty friend. You know, I could have easily, and it's not even a thing. Like, I could still possibly, it's so early in the week. I'm very happy you've said that, because thankfully I have that amazing wife and lets me do whatever the fuck I want to do. So that's one of those things. I'm going to actually.
This Saturday's the boil.
God, man, I'd love to go redneck with him.
You should.
You know, he's one of my favorite, you know, in the industry. Like, if I had to pick and it'd be for two different reasons, but it's so funny that, like, during COVID and pre-COVID, it's been since we opened the shop with Mike. But, you know, when you have Mike and I were like a long time before we figured each other out. I think he probably hated doing business with me and probably didn't even like me as a human. And me and Brett were the opposite. We've always been, we started off in the worst. Actually, I want to tell two good stories about that. Brett called my shop and talked to somebody about buying a locker here. This is my favorite story, right? And he wanted to buy a locker at Secretto, fill it with cigars. And when vets came here, he wanted to have us gift them a cigar.
Yeah.
And not mention this crazy guy calling from Virginia who forgot to mention that he was a shop owner. And we thought he was crazy. And we're like, no, thank you. And I think he had told somebody at Roma, like, he thought we had something against vets or something like that. Complete antithesis. They didn't let me in. But it was like, that's what kind of human he is. And then when we got pregnant, he sent us like all kind of stuff for the baby. And Roma Craft and Aventura sent her an entire wardrobe. She's got weasel everything. Just like Daddy. She's got a weasel wear for every color. Jamie Rosales bought her everything. Adventura bought her clothes. And, you know, it's so funny. Like, people, one day somebody asked me, they're like, how'd you get Don Derma? And I was, well, fuck how I got it. What's happened thereafter? You know, when we went to Hawaii, we got back from Hawaii. Chris Duque was my wedding officiant. He was a customer. He got licensed. I eloped. I married a TM from Cali, from Pennsylvania, Drew Estate, territory manager. We met during the Zoom on COVID, during COVID through Drew Estate event. And when we went out to Hawaii, we got back, and Steve had called me up and he had made this post, and it said, Ronnie's registered at Secreto Cigar Bar. Go buy yourself a gift. And the great thing is I'm going to be mailing these people a gift back. So the total cost of my wedding was $14,589, and I came to my shop a couple days later, and there was $15,000 in cigars in my shop from Steve, and he paid for my wedding. So everybody who bought cigars on my site were all free for me. And then he paid for my daughter's entire tuition for college with this drop. $600 is gone in a blink. So like when you think of like your real life friends and family and what's happened to your life as a result of everything you've done, I think the cigar industry has been the most rewarding by the relationships that we've cultivated in this industry, the things that have happened in my life. It's just crazy that somebody would fucking pay for your wedding and your daughter's education because of dead leaves. I mean, it's just weird.
It's the relationships, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, but like guys like Mike, you call him up and you talk weightlifting shit with him and working out and shit like that. And you talk tobacco with him and you get to talk with him as a brand owner and as a retailer. So I think with all the relationships you have in the industry, they have something different they bring to the table. With Matt, you're only talking sex life shit and stuff like that. So we never talk about the dead leaf.
So you're saying I'll see you Saturday?
I'm saying you got a way higher probability now than you did 10 minutes ago.
Nice.
Well, I think
it is.
I think it might be time.
Time for what?
Oh, no.
It's time for this week's Numero de los Muertos. Numero de los Muertos, brought to us by our friends at Smoke Inn.
Honestly, agree with the goat to tell you about Smoke Inn's Cigar of the Month Club. Every month, I personally handpick 5 premium cigars. Another great feature is our Double Down Club. With a simple check mark, you can get double this great selections every month and save $10. Every month, there's a special discount code where if you like any of the selections, you can get them at a special discounted rate for our Cigar of the Month Club members. We've made it super simple. All you gotta do is log into your account. There's a little green button there. If it's green, you're active. You wanna take a break, going out of town, simply hit the button and you'll deactivate your membership. We get the stuff out on the 28th of every month. Our membership bills on the 28th and we get every member's package out on the 28th if it's a shipping day. All delivered to your door for $34.95. 5 great reasons on what makes Smoke Inn Cigar of the Month Club the best club out there. Check it out. Peace.
All right. Numero de los Muertos, episode 242. This one is...
Stop. You know that how we met? It just hit me. Do you know that the first time I got on your show...
I remember the one.
You fuckers, I picked it. It was a snake. And then you motherfuckers, I thought I was going to win something. I won something and I won nothing.
You wanted that a boy.
So what we're going to do for this show is if one of the people actually answer this, they're going to get a box of cigars from me. It will be one of our exclusives. It might be the Saga collection we just did. It might be a Don Derma. It might be a Sociedad Secreta. Whoever wins this, if somebody wins it, send me their address. I'm mailing them a box.
Wow. Ronnie is throwing down the gauntlet. I love it. Thank you, brother. This is awesome. Yeah, all right, so
so hold on. What if I won? I won last week's.
Employees of HBT Media LLC are not eligible to win.
Who the fuck's the employee?
Oh yeah, I'm the only employee. All right, here we go. So the number, I'm even gonna try to sweeten the pot here a little bit. The number, 1 was killed, but there were 2 involved. 1 was injured, but lived. The other was killed.
Wait, what the fuck did you just say? Do that all over again.
So 2 people were involved.
Okay.
1 was just injured but lived. The other was killed. So the number is 1. 1 person was killed by this weird thing that happened.
There was just 2 people involved.
Yes.
It's not Niagara Falls, Tom, but nice try. I see what you did there.
Just out of curiosity, because I can't see anything on this thing other than our faces. Did anybody actually watch this?
Oh, there's tons of comments.
Oh, yeah. There's about 30-something people in here right now.
Okay, so that's the shittiest question I think you guys have ever asked. There's 2 people that did something. 1 person died. It's freaky, right?
Well, the only thing we give is a number. You along with our viewers have to play 20 questions to break down what the cause of death was.
So David Floyd says, are animals involved?
Animals were not involved.
John Jensen says sporting event.
How about the weather? Is the weather involved?
The weather was not involved. I'll say technically a sporting event was adjacent involved.
Okay. Somebody died during tailgating?
No.
A hockey puck.
Nope, not a hockey puck.
Russ set catching bullets.
No, catching bullets. Firearms were not involved.
Okay, was it one of those like things where they throw something at someone and they get killed that way?
No, but I like that.
Bull riding?
No, animals were not involved.
Suicide in front of another?
No, this was not. No.
Is it
Okay, can we ask questions about the so are they facing each other when this happens?
It doesn't specify.
Is it a sex
It's
thing?
not a sex thing.
WrestleMania?
Nope, not wrestling, not track and field, not a vending machine.
Oh, was it something where like somebody was tossing a chick on an ice skating thing and she falls and landed on her head?
No.
Okay.
Was
Was it
it
something like a
close,
Cirque du Soleil where they're tossing somebody in a circus kind of thing and they don't catch them?
Nope. Tossing people
No,
and was not
no
involved.
cheerleading involved?
No,
All right.
no cheerleading.
Javelin catching in the Olympics?
No javelin catching.
Ooh.
No, it was not javelin.
Frisbee.
Frisbee across the face.
Catching. No.
Were vehicles involved?
Vehicles were involved
Oh,
indirectly,
Indirectly.
but
oh.
vehicles were involved.
Skydiving? No?
I like the jousting idea.
So you're saying it was on land then?
It was on land. I'll say, okay, let me clarify that. Vehicles were involved in the sporting event that led these morons to do this thing, but vehicles didn't actually cause the death.
So it was a NASCAR event
It happened
after a NASCAR.
after
A car catapulted into the crowd and killed someone.
No, it wasn't actually a car that killed someone. It
A
was
wheel flew off the car and hit someone.
no,
A part of the car.
not a part of the car, but something that
The car hit something and hit someone.
no, but it's something that
The person flew out of the fucking car, hit somebody else, and killed that person.
no, but it's not a part of the car, but it's something that goes in the car,
The fucking engine? He's got me cursing.
not the engine.
The airbag blew off and hit somebody in the face.
No, they don't put airbags on race cars.
The
Oh,
tranny?
that's right. My bad.
No, not a transmission. Not a helmet.
They're filling up the gas thing and it flies off and whacks somebody and kills them.
No, but
Lug nut?
They're doing
part of
the.
what you just said. Part of what you just said, Ronnie, was in the ballpark.
Did gas burn someone?
What was that, Justin?
Somebody says gas.
Putting air in the tire blew up and killed the person.
So, Mike Murphy, you're on the right track. I think we may.
Now, is that my Mike Murphy that shops with me? Because if so, I'd love to give him the box. of cigars.
I'm gonna give this to Mike Murphy because that's pretty much a correct guess.
Which Mike Murphy is that? Is he a Secreto shopper?
Let him answer. Hey,
Yeah, Mike Murphy.
Mike Murphy,
So let me give the details here.
who is you?
This was in July of 2010. During the American Sprint Car Series in Cedar Woolley, Washington, 2 crew members were working at a custom machine shop when they decided to make things a bit more interesting. The men put a 55-gallon barrel in the parking lot, poured in 4 gallons of methanol, sat on top of the barrel, and lit it on fire. They thought the barrel would skid across the parking lot like a rocket. The barrel exploded beneath them with enough force that the end of the barrel landed 120 feet away. The 2 men landed in Harborview Medical Center in Seattle via airlift, and one of the 2 lost his life. They actually thought it would be fun to fill a barrel with, well, not fill, but put 4 gallons of methanol in a barrel and light it on fire. I mean,
It had to be white people.
Well, it had to not only that, but it had to be that had to have been a hold my beer moment.
Yeah.
That is truly a hold my beer moment. You know, it's
You see that, Ronnie? Gator from Detroit suburbs.
Oh, that's my guy. So now I'm super. That's why I said, is it my Mike Murphy? So his first cigar that he ever bought from me, he came to 2 events for me here. He did the Aventura event and JSK events. He's friends with Risty. Gator is good people, man. I'm happy he won. So now I can send him something special.
That's awesome.
Love that.
I love it.
Love that. He was a Aventura Explorer guy, and that was like 2016. And then he came to the JSK event for Risty. And if I'm wrong, I'll send him more stuff.
So that was this week's
Numero de los Muertos.
And
so
Raul has some.
We have something here that we need to pay the bills. So, guys, these hats are for sale. We got them black and blue.
And they say they got how about that cigar on the front and on the side, hashtag burn cigars, not bridges.
We're selling them for $25 a piece. So if you want one,
send me an email.
Send us an email.
Matt@howaboutthatcigar.com. And $25 will get you one of these hats, and that includes shipping. You won't have to pay extra for shipping.
So let me show you guys the shop real quick.
Oh yeah, right.
Show us the bar too. That fucking looks badass.
So this is the bar. Actually, let me do this right up. That's an easy. Can you see that?
Yep.
So Belveni, Glenfiddich, Macallan. This is Scotch, bourbon, more Scotch, bourbons, and more bourbons, Taylors, bourbons, yaks, and more bourbons. And we got Japanese whiskeys, the Orphans, Compass Box, Dalmore, Japanese whiskeys, and House Tully. This would be bar.
Where's the tequila?
And this would be lounge.
No tequila?
Tons of tequila, man.
All right.
Yeah, but we're much more whiskey-centric as far as our shelf space goes. But this is the retail area, and we keep all of our infused cigars outside here. And then when you walk in the humidor, we start out Liga, and then we are Padron, and then Hoya DE, and this is the William Ventura Wall, Crown Heads and Dapper, Aladino, Tatuaje, Warped, Postania, My Father, Ashton, Sencillo, Angelinos, La Aurora, Dunbarton, Espinoza, Ferriotego, Zeno, Davidoff. This is the humidor that the customers go into. And then we have, so we built this one. So we've got 176 lockers here. And then,
wow. Nice.
Yeah. Then we built this during COVID, but here's the wine cellar. But we built this during COVID, and this is getting redone right now. It's getting tricked out. This is going to be a high-end humidor, rare room. This is the lounge. Many events back here.
Nice. Nice.
And then this is where, like, the real magic happens. So this is the shit show of organization that is the other humidor.
Oh,
and
wow.
This is pretty much where I spend most of my day in this room. It's really funny because during COVID, this entire bar was nothing but boxes everywhere. So, like, when a Dunbarton order comes in, we've yet to process, but that's what show order looks like. And now it's going to get opened up, put on the shelf, and it's tough, man. Oh, my favorite part of the shop, you're going to love that I did this. So I always tell people, if your bathrooms don't look like this, you need to tell your brick and mortar to spend more money.
Yeah.
This was like my favorite thing to do in the place because, well, we're pitch black, but this was like, I always said every time I went to a tobacco shop, the bathrooms looked terrible. And I wanted that to be one thing as far as aesthetics went. I wanted it to feel like home for everybody. And then one of my customers said, well, your bar is nicer than my home. Not my problem.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's get a reveal on this week's Spirit of Mystery. This is a bourbon. It's 100 proof. And I'll say that it's an enjoyable bourbon. It's one that I think I would definitely drink again. It almost tastes like it might be something that I've had before, but I can't really. I'm having a hard time nailing it down.
Well, it's $299 a bottle.
Okay. Oh, Remus Repeal Reserve straight bourbon whiskey.
5. It's the 5th one or whatever. Yeah, like
Wow.
I said, 5, 7, 3 or some shit like that.
That's a very, very nice.
Nothing's too good
Yeah.
for my boss.
Hey, thank you, brother, for your boss. Thank you, brother. That's nice. That's nice. So that was the Spirit of Mystery reveal. So let's get into the lightning round brought to us by our friends at J.C. Newman Cigar Company, America's oldest family-owned premium cigar maker, creators of the popular Brick House, Perla Del Mar, Diamond Crown, and The American. J.C. Newman Cigar Company operates out of their 113-year-old El Reloj Cigar Factory in historic Cigar City, Tampa, Florida. For more information on their cigars or visitor experience, please visit jcnewman.com. All right, Ronnie. If you were about to get into a fight, what would your soundtrack music be?
You know how much I fucking hate your guts right now. You know what? I totally forgot to watch. Ian was on your last show, and I fell asleep in the middle of it. It was late night. And if I would have saw the end of that show, it would have given me more time to think about it. And I so torn. If you saw what my house was like and how I felt about music and the different genres. Before I was going to fight. Soundtrack. Conan the Barbarian.
Wow. Like the music from the movie, the orchestral score from the movie.
Yeah, it was Anvil of Crom, I think it is. I know I work out to when I'm bench day. So, like, that's for sure. That would be.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's for sure going to be.
I love it.
The calm before the storm.
I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yep, final answer.
Who's playing it for you?
I did.
No, yeah, I love it. All right.
So, Ronnie, what is your most underrated fast food and overrated fast food?
Underrated and overrated. Well, I'm not a fast food guy. So underrated, no fucking clue. Overrated, everything. I love In-N-Out Burger.
Okay.
I grew up in Southern California, so In-N-Out to me is the burger. Fast food, I'm not a fast food guy.
Okay.
Everybody who knows me knows whenever I go to a restaurant, I order the menu and I don't eat at fast food places. I'm a sick eater.
All right.
So
All right.
I suck at that question.
Justin, you're up.
All right, Ronnie, you ready?
Yep.
The zombies are coming.
Yep, I know this one.
You know this
Easy
one.
Yeah,
There
very
are
fucking
3
easy.
cigar industry related people to pick for your zombie apocalypse survival squad. Who do you pick and why?
My leadoff, Mike Steps on Cabbage.
Great answer.
Mike, because I know that I would be able to cultivate something in him, a rage, by just annoying him to the point of creating a monster. And he's a strong dude, and I feel like I can coach him into being my front line. You know, this is one of those things I thought about, and he chose me, but he said it was because of my anger. Brett is a monster in size. So I figure with the way he looks, he can scare half the people away by just putting his hands up and just charge. They're mostly going to run. He's going to be my 2 spot. My 3rd spot is actually going to be someone who's, well, let's just say he's probably has the munchies right now. All pun intended. Risty JSK, because he's bionically defective, retarded, and the warranty seal was broken at birth. And I know, like, if I have to send somebody into a group of like 30 guys to scope out, like to do my recon, he's defective enough to where I say, Buck, I need you to go do this. Go check out what we got to deal with. He might take the L and just drop for us. And then Mike and Brett and I can go in and if he makes it back, but he's the guy I would definitely send out. He's defective. I mean, he's just like me. He's fucked up. Macedonians are just like Chaldeans. We're both Christians. We're both from the same type of families, upbringing, same type of foods, desserts. And so we also, if it came down to doing food, I'm not going to let, actually, if I come to the Royal, then I would be able to say what Brett can do with food. I'm not really looking for Mike for more than a protein shake. But Buck and me would be in charge of food. Buck would be cooking and I'd be eating. And I would go back to drinking again. Buck would be in charge of spirits. I wouldn't say what me and Brett would be doing. We'd be partying. And Mike and I would be going to the gym to tune up for our fighting. Final answer.
Nice. Very nice crew.
Love it. All right, let's jump into this week's notable smokables brought to us by Don Doroteo Cigars, a brand with both purpose and passion dedicated to creating change from within. By developing their own land, they're able to own the entire process throughout the life cycle of the plant, and they methodically carry out each step, ensuring that the final product is of the finest quality. The new Salt of the Earth lines, Piedra Viva and Piedra Angular, are available now at Don Doroteo retail partners. Visit dondoroteo.com to learn more. All right, so Ronnie, each week we name a cigar in the show that we smoked recently that was notable to us. Now, this could be a cigar that's been on the market for decades that we smoked for the first time in a really long time, or it could be a cigar that's brand new to the market that you smoked for the first time ever. What's something you smoked recently that really stood out to you?
That's such a fucking loaded question, man. I can't say one thing because to say one is to forget the others. So can we do a couple notables?
Yeah, why not?
So let's just go by what I think is in the market right now that's come out. Let's not go back old. Let's go to new stuff and what's for each of the segments of smoking styles. One of the cigars that I felt last year that I didn't get behind at the right time, but I felt like it was a blend, was the best by far out of the company. And I think it's a standout cigar, is the Ferio Tego Suma.
Yeah.
This Corona of that cigar, I've thoroughly enjoyed. I think I mentioned that, you know, like Wagashi, it's really, really, really hard because it's like Wagashi to me is like a different cigar altogether than Brulee. But I think it's a whole... When it comes to Connecticut, I think it's a defining. I like that cigar a lot for a Connecticut. I like what Skip did with the Chromac PA. I like what Mike did with the Postania Connecticut. His War Barons SBCs this year were stellar. I liked what everything Tatuai has been dropping, has been coming out. Like the Tuxla product, the Capa Especial was great. I already mentioned Ian's Crudo, the Mil Diaz Maduro. I think I mentioned the Lampard Oscuro. I mentioned. Everything I've been smoking for the last bunch of lives, the Chance has been my favorites thus far this year. The Diaz Maduro, I think I just said again. I think what's been in my shop that came out from the brands that we carry, I think everybody put their best foot forward this year again.
Yeah.
I think cigars just keep getting way better. I'm so upset with the industry right now because I feel like all these guys that are coming up right now have it so easy. When you've been smoking for 3 decades, people have no idea how many shitty cigars you went through to get to where you got now. And I messaged Pete because like Lati Kesta was one of those cigars that got me into boutiques. Hoyta Antaños was the other one. And I both got introduced to those on a trip with Juan Lopez from Gurkha when I was in Miami years and years ago. That's been one, ironically, like when you hear all the, crazy stuff when it comes to a brand like Gurkha and people don't know the good factors that they work with and stuff like that. But Wani was one of those guys that he's the person who brought me to the boutique sector of the industry. When you think of a guy going by way of Gurkha, which is looked upon as like, the frown by boutique people, we carry Gurkha. We always have. It was from day one in this shop, in my old shop. And Juan was the guy that introduced me to the boutique sector. So like, I think that what Pete did with Capa Especial, going back from the old Miami 10 stuff that he had done and going from La Duquesa to Capa Especial, that medium body, full flavored, really great Cuban nuance cigars. I like to see people like going back to what they used to do after a gap of making like lots of big body stuff and following these trends. And when everybody gets settled and older, they go back to elegance. And that's what I've been liking about the product coming out now. Sophistication, elegance of the stuff. Shit just tastes expensive now.
Yeah. Raul, what's a notable for you this week?
Did I use a Chancellor last week?
I think you did. Yeah.
Shit. I smoked a few more. They're fucking phenomenal.
Which one was that?
Chancellor.
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. But I did smoke street taco, the new street taco, Cinco de Mayo today.
Okay.
It's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
From
It's pretty good.
Rojas.
From Rojas.
Nice. Justin, what was your notable this week?
Let's see. I was digging around in one of my bins and found a warped Corto. I hadn't tried that one yet, but it's probably been sitting there for a couple of years. So I enjoyed that one on the way to work. And yeah, it was a good one this week.
Nice. My notable this week, I actually smoked just before the show. And I hadn't smoked one in, probably at least a year. The Crown Heads Juarez. I mean, it's just a good cigar. It's
that cigar for the price point.
It's a super inexpensive cigar. Really flavorful.
And you know what's interesting? Like, so when you're in a humidor with someone, when I'm in the shop with guys that smoke with me, I have them close one nostril, smell the foot of their cigar, close the other nostril. They see the senses on their face. One side sees spice, one side sees sweetness. And, it's when you're getting into like the retro of a cigar, if a person doesn't retro, showing them how mouthfeel. When you go to show them comparisons, it's nothing against what Crown has did with that project, but what I love to show a consumer is range, right? So if you wanted a basic, really consistent, good construction cigar, not a lot of money, you go smoke Juarez. You want to go to the top of the food chain, I'm smoking Sin Compromiso. You're going to tell the elegance and taste difference on that retro. Your mouthfeel is going to taste different. You're going to have cigars that dry out your palate, never going to sit well with me. Stuff that makes me salivate is going to sit well with me. I think that when you see a cigar at one price point that's super low and one that's high, if they can both achieve a satisfaction to a consumer, a lot of guys come into my shop and you'll be shocked to see that they'll grab a Juarez and that same consumer will grab a Sin Compromiso, and one is to smoke and not have to worry about, a burn line and having the perfect smoke, and that's the Juarez and the Umbaga and broadleaf for that matter. And then top of the food chain stuff where you're looking at a Papasaka, Saka Khan. And so I think that having a balance of great product at two price points works only with brands that have great products at those price points. It's very hard to find that in a lot of companies. You can taste that their budgeted stuff isn't good.
Yeah.
Ronnie, what do you think of the new Umbagag?
Ron's back.
I'm very upset about it.
Why is that?
I think Steve Saka's a sellout. So Umbagag is the cigar that our bikers come here and get, the guys that are doing outdoor sports, guys that are working in rain, snow, sleet, the shittiest of Michigan weather, and the cigar never fucking dies, which I hope Steve Saka lives as long as an Umbagag for my business's sake. But the thing is that Umbagag sustains, it's so funny because it's the toothier wrapper of a Mi Querida, yet the cigar is known for it just never dies. It'll live through a nuclear war. It's like the cockroach, right? But that rustic feel that you got out of it in texture, you got tons of great flavor. This Bronzeback is so elegant on the retro, it defeats the whole purpose of calling it a budgeted Umbagag because it doesn't taste like a budgeted cigar. It tastes like a really good premium cigar. So I think it's tough now because when you as a retailer, anybody who says that they're not trying to get higher gross sales is just a bad retailer and stupid. So I'm never trying to move somebody into a bronze bag. I want to keep them into me kitty to tricky traka papa saka saka con. It's just so hard when he made it taste so elegant and smooth. But I think that there's guys that are going to want to rep, you know, the bigger panache brands with everything. But I think you still have to have great budgeted stuff to keep people. If he has a choice to lose a consumer to a $5, $6, $7, $8 smoke out there, or keep them by doing a project like this, sometimes there's not a lot of money in a cigar, and it's just customer retention versus acquisition. Whereas cigars that, like the shop exclusives that he's mowed through, that have been all stellar, every one of them. It's so crazy. Like, all of his shop exclusives are better than almost everything in the market as we see it today. And it's not biased and partial, because people think this whole Saka thing was a fanboy experience, and they said the same thing about Caldwell. You attach yourself to success if you want to succeed. You want to attach yourself to failure, you're going to find yourself drowning. I'm not that. We got on that wave in 2016, and it's been the best thing that happened to us. And so I think that, like, when you look at these brands that have stuff in market, I think some people overlook the cheaper stuff from the big brand stuff, like the El Jaco by LFD. I love that cigar, right? It's $8. Does it mean that you shouldn't smoke, you know, Andalusian Bull and Locks? No, I'm just saying, when they don't have it at that shop, go pick up one of those, or the Cameroon, which I think is my favorite that they do. I think is stellar. We just picked that brand up after all these years, and it's like, when you think of like big companies that do those wide range price points, you can trust it. But a lot of times when other companies do it, it just comes out super wrong. You know it's budgeted.
Well, let's get into some coming attractions we have coming up in the next few weeks on How About That Cigar Live. That's brought to us by Hoagland Insurance. They are excited to serve and educate any new customers and give existing customers a refresher. Whether it's a business policy, auto insurance, home policy, or life insurance. If you're currently insured or just looking for a quote, Tony Hoagland and his team would love to create a personal price plan just for you. Mention How About That Cigar when you make your first appointment, and Tony will have a free cigar just for you. For more information, please call 763-421-4900 or visit champlaininsurance.com. All right, next week, on April 29th, we'll be off. We won't have a show next week. But following that up, May 6th, we have Hollywood actor Gino Seegers on the show. Very excited to have him on. He's been on Banshee. He's been on Yellowstone. He's been on a number of other things that I'm just not.
Who was he on Yellowstone?
He was in one episode of Yellowstone. And he was, I don't recall the character's name, but he was, so Gino is Native American, and he played a Native American on the show, on the episode that he was on. I don't recall the character's name.
You got to go back and watch Banshee. He's great on Banshee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys something, because I know that you're going to end the show. What do you guys like to pair with cigars, as far as like when you're not talking spirits, when you're going to smoke a cigar and you're kind of like doing a review thing? What's your thing that you guys like to eat, drink, whatever, when you smoke?
When I do a review, I'm just drinking water. I'm not eating anything. I'm sitting in a nice room with some jazz on and smoking a cigar and drinking water. That's it. Now, if we're on the show, I'll pair it with cream soda or root beer, same as Justin. Justin likes root beer, and that's it.
And if it's a review, it's either plain water or sparkling water. But if I'm just, my number one favorite non-alcoholic beverage to pair with a cigar is coffee. Flat out. I absolutely love coffee and cigars. It's one of
Don't you think, though, that coffee, instead of pairing, it lends too much nuance to the cigar versus water?
It depends on the coffee.
But it mutes up. But you're talking about something like, so I like what you were saying as far as the water goes, because I think that what I was getting to is I've been doing for years, and watermelon, honeydew, and cantaloupe have been those three fruits, because there's so much water in them. I love everything water with cigars. And I think that when you have fruits that are not super sweet, like the honeydew and cantaloupe can get sweet, watermelon obviously sweet, but there's so much water in them. I love eating fruit now, and smoking cigars. I started getting real crazy with it during COVID. It's made my cigar experiences so much better because it's like a fresh reset every time you take a pull. If you have fruit in between, like, you know, every few times you're smoking, it's been so good. And I like sumo oranges have been a thing for me since I got introduced to them a few years back.
I love those suckers.
The acidity in the orange literally like eats away at everything that you add in your mouth, and then you go to have a pull and you're back to reset fresh. I've always liked pita bread to chew during smoking because it gives you morning breath. It resets your palate. And I think that when you're smoking, people like I've had so many customers when we had the restaurant before we converted the kitchen into a humidor. People, if you have like Mexican food or Asian food and it's super spicy and you have a spicy cigar, it's like clashing of sriracha and jalapeno. I say the same thing for years. They just don't marry well together. But if you have something sweet, IBC, cream soda, Dr. Pepper, or a sherry cask, finish on a scotch, sweet and spice give you that Asian fusion, and it's always great. I think fruit has been great for me because you still get this like a fresh taste of the spice from a cigar, and the sweetness gets just enhanced. But I love to see what people like when they say that they had a cigar and they hated it, and then they have a different food experience coming in, a more bland diet, meat and potatoes thing, no spice, and they have the same cigar, and you introduce it to them 2 months prior and they fall in love with it and they say it's great. And people don't realize if you eat food that's pungent and real spicy and real strong in flavor, it's going to change your taste and your palate for the rest of the day. So I tell people all the time, read less and smoke more, because if you read a review about a cigar and they talk about crazy amounts of spice and nicotine, you have to remember that the person who's saying that, you don't know what they ate or drank or what their max or minimum is on their strength level. So always just smoke as much as you can. Watch shows like this, learn about product, and make your own assessments after you smoke, then go read.
Yeah, one of the craziest pairings that when I first heard about it, I was like, that's ridiculous. But then I tried it. Drinking orange juice with a Connecticut broadleaf wrapped cigar. Incredible.
Yeah, so
good.
You know what's going to make your, like, if you want to get into juices, the best pairing is apple juice. It accentuates the flavor of every wrapper of every cigar you're ever going to do. Apple juice is like not as tart as orange juice. It's still got sweetness to it. It depends on which brand you get, obviously, but all apple. What's the little glass ones that we get? Starts with an M. I can't pronounce it ever, but I always get cases of it. Marinellos or something like that.
Yeah.
In the West, we have
Costco brand.
So, yeah, they have like, it comes in like glass and plastic. They're like a circular one.
Yeah.
I love apple juice. I love apples with cigars a lot. I just think fruit and cigars go great together.
Yeah. So Ronnie, for our viewers and listeners, where's the best place for them to keep up with everything you guys have going on with Secreto Cigar Bar?
So Facebook and Instagram, Secreto Cigar Bar. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm obviously, Matt, you know, I smoke cigars live every day on social media.
Yeah.
My customers, I have a very different relationship with. We text daily. We're in groups together. They come to the shop and visit from all over the country. I mean, it's been, Don Dermo was one of those gateways to where we had people like coming from all over here to get stuff. And it was like, it was crazy. And it just made the shop that little honeycomb where you can always go to and find cigars that you don't find everywhere else. And that's kind of been our thing.
Nice. Well, brother, we can't thank you enough for spending time with us this evening. We really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure, man. Listen, I've always loved your guys' shows, and as many times been asked to do shows. We used to always make jokes. You guys, prior to you guys coming here, I used to always say I wanted to do a show with Matt and then a show with Garrett because I felt I could be better for both of them than they were for each other. And we never got to do that opportunity, so we finally got to live out my childhood fantasy. And that was be a part of the How About That franchise.
Well, we appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
No, thank you guys,
Thanks,
man.
brother.
Thank you for the opportunity. Love you guys.
Love you, brother. All right, viewers and listeners, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening and being the best part of How About That Cigar Live. We really do appreciate it so much. If you would take just a moment, click on all of the buttons, the subscribe button, the like button, the follow button, any of those buttons you see Make sure that you keep up with everything we have going on. If you have questions for us, you can email us on the website, howaboutthatcigar.com. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. You'll find us at HBT Cigar. And of course, until we see you guys next time, burn cigars,
not bridges.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Any comments, opinions, viewpoints, or statements presented or uttered by guests on the HBTC podcast, HBTC live video streams, and all other media from HBT Media LLC are solely those of the individual and do not necessarily represent the opinions or viewpoints of How About That Cigar or its parent company, HBT Media LLC, any of our advertising partners, or the premium cigar industry. The primary purpose of How About That Cigar is to entertain and to encourage activity and growth within the community of people who enjoy or want to learn about the enjoyment of